Let's begin by understanding what we mean by structure and function in society. Think of society as a large, complex system, much like a living organism. Just as our bodies have various parts, like the heart, lungs, and brain, that work together to keep us alive, society also has different parts that work together to maintain stability and order. These parts include institutions like family, education, government, and religion. The main idea of this lecture is to explore how societies organize patterns, that is, structure, and the roles these parts play, that is, function, help society run smoothly. By learning these concepts, we can better understand how societies are built and how they change over time. Now, why are these ideas so important? The concept of structure and function help us analyze and understand any social system, from a small family to a large nation. Structure refers to the way the society is organized, like the hierarchy in a company or the rules in a school. These structures give society stability because they create predictable patterns of behavior. Function is about what each part does. For instance, in a school, the teachers educate students. In a family, parents nurture children. Together, structure and function show us how society's parts work together to keep everything running smoothly. If one part fails, for instance, if schools do not educate, we can see how society might suffer or change. Now we will go into a more detailed understanding about what social structure and function mean. Let us define social structure. Imagine the basic framework of society like the skeleton of a human body. It is the organized system of relationships, roles, institutions, norms, and hierarchies that shape how people behave and interact. For example, institutions like the family and schools and the legal system form the social structure. Norms are unwritten rules about behavior, such as waiting in line or respecting elders. Hierarchies determine who has more power or status, like a boss versus an employee. This structure provides stability because everyone understands their roles and rules, making social life predictable. What do we mean by social function? It refers to the purpose or role that each part of society plays. For example, the manifest or the obvious function of a hospital is to treat sick people and keep the community healthy. But hospitals also have latent or hidden functions like providing jobs or creating social bonds among staff and patients. Similarly, schools' manifest function is to educate, but they also serve to transmit cultural values or reinforce social class divisions. Recognizing both manifest and latent functions help us see how institutions influence society in multiple ways, both intentionally and unintentionally. Now let's understand how structure and function influence each other. They work in a continuous, dynamic relationship. For instance, laws or a structure are created to serve specific functions, such as maintaining order and safety. When these laws succeed, they reinforce stability. If they fail or are changed, society adapts and shifts. An example of how technological advances like social media have changed communication, not just in how people connect, that is function, but also reshaped social institutions and norms, that is structure. When social needs change, structures evolve, and new functions emerge. This ongoing interaction keeps society flexible and responsive to change. Here we introduce Radcliffe Brown, a noted sociologist who contributed to this perspective. He saw society as an organism where different parts work together for the whole's survival. Think of a society like a living body. Each part has a role that supports the body's health. Radcliffe Brown's approach emphasizes study how social institutions and roles contribute to the stability of the society as a whole. This approach helps us understand the purpose behind social arrangements and why they exist. The role of social structures. Radcliffe Brown highlighted that social structures organize our lives. For example, family roles, parents, siblings, children establish patterns that guide our behavior. These structures promote order by creating predictable expectations. They also help maintain social cohesion, sense of belonging, by establishing shared norms and values. Imagine a community where everyone respects elders and follow traditions. These shared norms help keep the community united and functioning smoothly. Without clear structures, chaos would occur, like in a sports team where each player knows their role. This slide explores two types of functions: manifest function and latent function. To clarify, manifest functions are obvious, intended goals of an institution. For example, the function of a university is to educate students. Latent functions are the hidden, unintended consequences. For example, universities may also reinforce social inequalities if students from wealthier families have better access. Recognizing these dual functions help us understand the full impact of institutions, both their planned purposes and their unexpected efforts. Now consider the idea of social solidarity, the feeling of unity that holds society together. Shared values and norms create a sense of belonging and cohesion, much like a community coming together during a festival. However, some critics argue that the structural functional approach overlooks conflict, inequalities, and power struggles, which are also a vital part of social life. For example, while shared norms promote stability, they might hide underlying inequalities like discrimination or class conflict. Understanding these criticisms reminds us that society is complex and we must look beyond stability to understand change. In conclusion, this perspective helps us to see how the parts of society, its structures, function to maintain stability. Radcliffe Brown's ideas show that social rules, institutions, and norms all work together like parts of a machine or an organism. When everything functions well, society remains cohesive, but it's also important to remember that social systems are not static, they evolve. Recognizing how structure and function interact helps us understand both social stability and the processes of change. The key takeaway is that understanding the relationship between society's structure and its functions help us analyze social stability and change. Whether studying a community, a nation, or global system, these concepts are essential tools for sociologists and anyone interested in how societies work. We've seen that society is built on organized patterns, its structures that serve various functions. These ideas, especially from sociologists like Radcliffe Brown, help us understand why society is organized in a certain way and how it adapts over time. Recognizing the importance of both the visible roles and the hidden consequences of institutions allow us to see the full pictures of social life.